Brothers and sisters, let me tell you, this is how valuable you are. I think the universe would hide you in its pockets so that you would never be scratched and never receive a ding or a dent.
I'm preaching you just like I would have in the old days, just minus a few characters in the story.
There's no mention of God or Jesus.
Can I get a Darwin?
Prepare yourself for a journey of discovery. The book has been written, the speeches have been done, and now it is time to go between the pages with Jerry DeWitt and Bobby C. Today's date is September 1st, 2016. My name is Bobby C. And once again, I am joined by my amazing co-host. It's the one and the only Mr. Jerry DeWitt.
Hello,
How you
Bobby
doing,
C.
Jerry? How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. I'm doing very, very good. I'm craving ice cream or maybe even some sherbet. I don't know.
I guess the people have to listen to pre-show to figure that one out, won't they?
Yeah, exactly. They'll have to. It's not so much listen to it. They'll have to endure it.
Yeah, they'll have to endure it.
Like some type of mental auditory exercise.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hear you. Well, I will go ahead and tell them what Jerry's talking about is I'm trying to give up smoking, and I've taken to vaping, the whole vape thing, and I'm starting to use I'm using something called Rainbow Sherbet, and it tastes really sweet, really good. But it also smells great too. And Jerry's like, well, that seems like kind of, that don't seem very manly there, Bobby C. And I'm like, look, I don't care. It tastes good and it smells good. And hey, I would tell you guys, it's taken me from 2 packs a day down to about 2 cigarettes a day. So,
well,
make fun of me if you want to about my sherbet, but it works for me.
I do congratulate you on that 1,000% because, one thing that you cannot ever accuse me of being is a quitter. I'm not a quitter. It's a good thing that I have not accidentally stumbled across meth, crack cocaine, heroin, skydiving, anything that would make me feel good, because I have absolutely no confidence whatsoever that I would be able to quit it. If it was snorting elephant dung and I enjoyed it, then I would be hooked on it. Yeah.
Well, see, that's the funny thing is, I've been told for years by loved ones and friends going, dude, you really need to quit smoking, man. That's really bad for you. And of course, everybody knows that,
Well, sure.
And I'm like, look, my mama didn't raise no quitter. That was kind of my thing, right? But when it gets to the point to where your chest hurts, you have a hard time breathing, you're coughing up this terrible stuff, and it's like, well, mama didn't raise a quitter, but you know what? I quit. And here's the way I look at it. Quitting is the easy part. Staying quit is the hard part.
Yeah, that's right. Because the actual quitting is
that's
like
easy.
the fall. Yeah, that's like the falling off the building part. It's not the quitting that's hard. It's the hitting the ground. Yeah. It's the not getting it back.
Yes, that sudden stop that has a tendency to get you. It's not the fall that kills you. It's the sudden stop at the bottom, Yeah. But so quitting's easy. Staying quit is much harder. But I can tell you that vaping has really, really helped me a lot. It costs more than I thought it would cost to really get into it, to get everything that you need to get started. The cost was a little high, but in the long run, when I looked at it from the aspect of how much a carton cost and how many cartons Ashley and I was going through a week compared to what this little thing that I'm using cost me, I'm saving a ton of money.
So you're going to be able to pay for your internet just by vaping.
Yes. Yes.
That sounds like the kind of arrangements I need to make. So I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to shift to maybe Sam's Choice soft drinks to try to make up for my additional expenses.
You know what? If I can quit that and it makes me healthy, but it also has the extra money that I need to pay the astronomical price that they're charging me for faster internet, I guess it's worth it in the end to be able to do a show each week and get to spend some time with those people that you care about, our listener base and everything else. So it's worth it. Guys, if you want to get your questions or comments on the air, you can live tweet during the show at Hope After Faith. I am looking at Twitter right now, so if you should tweet to us, I'll see it. And you can join us in the chat room on Spreaker.com. I see James, the Atheist, Dustin, Randy. Thank you, Randy, for the words of encouragement. And Todd in the chat room. So go over and join us in there. There's plenty of room, and the conversation is getting going. On this episode, we're going to discuss the idea of doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. Whenever, Jerry, when you and I were talking about this, the thing that first thing that came to mind was the whole Robin Hood thing, right? Stealing from the rich to give to the poor. So I'm really looking forward to getting to this topic because I think there are many times that doing the wrong thing for the right reason is justified. But we'll get into that.
Sure. As
promised last week, we are going to be doing our segment of Stump the Preacher tonight. We've received 10 voicemails for this installment. Up for grabs is a I Stump the Preacher t-shirt, a signed copy of Hope After Faith from Mr. Jerry D himself. And if requested, we'll give you an audio recording that you can use for your voicemail. But before we actually get to tonight's topic, as we broadcast right now, we had Hurricane, is it Hermine? How you say that hurricane's name? I'm going to call it Hermione. That'd be kind of funner. That's what I thought it was, but they don't pronounce it Hermione. They Hermine or something like that. Well, that hurricane right now is hitting the panhandle of Florida, and we hope that all of our family and friends that live on the panhandle are out of harm's way. And folks, listen, material things can be replaced, but lives cannot. So please stay safe as you battle this storm and everything else. It is headed our way. Here in Savannah. Oh, and here's the funny thing, Jerry. I was watching the Weather Channel, right? And when you watch the Weather Channel and they have those guys that go out to the path of the hurricane?
Yes.
Well, normally they don't go out unless they're expecting it to be bad to a certain location, right?
Mm-hmm. Right.
We got one standing on the River Street downtown Savannah right now broadcasting.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Waiting
for the storm to come. And I'm like, oh, yeah, if I won't be worried till Joe what's his name shows up.
It's like, oh, here he is.
And it's like, the Weather Channel man is standing on the river here in Savannah, so they must be expecting it to be pretty bad here for them.
What do they know that they're not telling us?
Yeah, it's like, come on, man, give us a heads up, But Weather Channel is in Savannah right now. They're doing live broadcasts from the river. So maybe, yeah, they've shut everything down here. Schools and everything are shut down. Businesses are shut down. I mean, they're kind of hunkering down for the storm. So
it's this complexity of life itself, the way it balances everything out, that schools only get shut down for just like all the wrong reasons, for all the bad reasons. I remember being a kid and you'd be like hoping that things would screw up just bad enough that school would close, but not so bad as to not be able to enjoy the fact that school was closed.
Right.
And what's neat about it, Bobby, is that's kind of like really training for the rest of your life. Because like when you were dealing with your internet, you were hoping to piss them off just bad enough that they would do something different, but not so bad as to suddenly, you have no internet anymore and you're blacklisted and you can't, they won't even show up on your street. So it's kind of the way just life works. So I'm glad that school's out, but I hope it ends up being a fun day for everybody anyway.
Yeah, I think it will be, because I don't think we're going to get it as hard as Florida's getting it, because Florida's going to get hit pretty hard compared to what we're going to get. I think we're going to get a ton of rain, and they're talking, 55, 60-mile-an-hour winds here, which is about what we get in a good old southern thunderstorm.
Yeah, that's right. Whenever they were saying, okay, it's now officially a hurricane because it has sustained winds of, it was like
75 or something like that.
Was it 75? And I was like, well, what are winds usually? I mean, what have I been complaining about in the past? Was I thinking I was standing in an 80-mile-an-hour wind and it was only a 15-mile-an-hour wind? I mean, that didn't really sound didn't really sound that impressive. It was like the first time one of my cousins was talking about someone going into space, and someone set a record because they jumped from space.
Oh yeah, I saw that video. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a great video.
Yeah, it is.
And whenever they told about how many miles it was, he was like, "Really? I thought space was like a lot further away than that."
Right. It's not that far.
Like space is like from here to downtown,
Yeah, but straight up.
Yeah, but straight up, right. But that just doesn't seem that right. So when I heard 75 miles an hour, I was like, that doesn't sound bad. I'm pretty sure I've had my hand out the window at 75 miles an hour, but
well, it's a little different when it's 75 miles an hour wind sustained, staying at 75 and never letting up.
Yeah, exactly.
That's when it gets you.
75 miles an hour with no red lights.
Right, no red lights, man. It's just blaring 75 nonstop. But I mean, because we've had thunderstorms down here in southeast Georgia that we'd get 80 mile an hour winds in them.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Was like, this sounds like normal thunderstorm weather.
Right. Yeah, compared to us, so we're basically going to get a very, very, very severe thunderstorm for a long, long time.
Wow.
So everybody's kind of buttoning down the hatches around here. They're closing everything. My mom and dad live on the coast. I've already called them and checked on them and offered to come help them board everything they need to board up and everything. They're like, nope, we've got that done already. So they're ready.
Like, dude, you're way too late.
Yeah, I called them. I was off from work today, and I called my dad and said, hey, you need me to come help you, batten everything down. He's like, nope, I got it already. I'm like,
got it covered.
All right, then that means I don't have to drive all the way to Midway for them. So I'm not much worried about them. They're kind of hunkered down. They'll be okay.
Yeah, they'll be fine. Yeah, they'll be fine. Ring, ring.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll just pray about it and it'll be all right.
Yeah, they'll thoughts and prayers with them.
Thoughts and prayers. That's right. Thoughts and prayers.
Yeah, don't forget the thoughts.
Yeah, you got to have the thoughts.
That's why it doesn't work. If you do just the prayers, you don't have the formula correct. You got to mix two parts.
That's what. See that maybe that's where I was messing up. I was praying without thinking. That's what it was.
That's what it was. That's right.
I knew it. I see. You're so smart, Jerry. It's amazing, man. It's just
I just been there. It's not that I'm super smart. I mean, just maybe super, not super. Maybe super, not super smart. But it's really just more of having been there and done that.
Right. It's the double super. I got it.
Yeah, just double, not triple. I mean, let's don't.
Let's not push it,
maybe sometimes it's triple. Okay. Yeah. I'm not gonna deny everyone the pleasure of telling me that I'm super smart. It's just.
Yeah. And me, I'm just smart. Damn it.
You're smart.
I'm just smart. Oh well.
Yeah, but it's a capital S with the smart though, so that's good.
That's it. Well, if you're ready, sir, let's go ahead and get into tonight's topic. Doing the wrong thing for the right reasons. I'm very interested in what you have to say about this and getting into this conversation.
So tell me how you feel about the Robin Hood thing, because before very long, I'm very likely to take this in the exact opposite direction and talk about right things for wrong reasons as well. And so tell me a little bit about what crossed your mind with Robin Hood and how you feel now as an atheist about morality fitting into the motivation. Do motivations matter, or is it the outcome that matters the most? How do you work your way through that now?
Well, it's kind of hard for me to work through it, and I'll tell you why. Because when you talk about morality, right, for me, the whole concept of morality, and people say, well, you can't have any morals if you don't have Jesus, and so I go back to do no harm. So if you're stealing from the rich to give to the poor, as they say, the story of Robin Hood, that's kind of what he did. Stole from the rich, gave to the poor. When you're looking at that, you're like, oh, okay, that's kind of a good thing. The rich have all the money. They're not going to miss whatever amount he steals. And the poor can definitely use it.
Right.
But then on the backside of that, you're also hurting the rich because it's their money. They worked for it. And you're taking something that does not belong to you. So,
right.
So sure, if you take $100 from someone who has $1 million, that 100's not going to hurt too bad.
Right.
But it's still the fact that it's their money that they worked for and you took it from them.
Yeah, I mean the bail money may be like $1,100,000, and it makes him stay in jail a little longer, and they'd be like,
See?
"Oh my God,
Had he not taken that $100 from me, I'd be a free man today.
that's right, I wouldn't be Bubba's boyfriend if it." Yeah,
Right. So when you look at it from that aspect, from the moral point of view, going, well, you're not really doing any harm, but you are still stealing, so that's not good either. But then you're giving it to the poor, and they can really, really use it.
yeah.
It
I think, isn't it right that a part of that story is kind of that the sheriff was overtaxing the poor, was pretty well robbing from the poor in the
Yeah.
first place in order to give it to the king, and
Yeah.
and so I think they kind of tried to work their way around that just a little bit by being like, well, it kind of was the poor people's money, but.
yeah.
But nevertheless, you're exactly right. There's still this idea of doing no harm.
Right.
Yeah, to no one.
Right. Which is where I base a lot of my morality from.
Right.
Do no harm.
But now, but doesn't that kind of does that come out of your atheism, or is that a little bit of something left over from Buddhism?
I actually think that it came long before Buddhism for me. Mm-hmm. Because having such an abusive childhood,
Yeah, right.
when I think of do no harm and I look at the harm I went through,
Right.
it goes long before Buddhism ever came into the picture.
Right.
Because I look at it like I know what I went through. I know the torment and the pain and the agony that I went through as a child and even as a teenager. And I look at that and go, there's no way in hell I would ever want anyone to ever have to endure that.
Right.
It made me, this don't sound really bad. It made me a better parent.
Sure.
Because there's no
sure.
way in hell I was going to treat my kids that way.
Right. So, do you mind if I keep asking a couple
No.
more questions and kind of keep you naked in that area? Is that all right?
No, no, I'm good being naked.
Okay, good deal.
good naked, yeah.
deal. I like you naked, Bobby. I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest. I like
Matter
you
of
naked.
fact, I'm naked under my clothes right now.
Are you?
I am.
I kind of felt that.
Yeah.
Underneath my clothes, I was kind
Yeah.
of feeling like maybe you were naked under your clothes
Yeah.
because it made me feel a little more naked under my
See there?
clothes.
I'm naked under my clothes. That's right.
So isn't it true that at least a certain percentage, I would have always thought a fair portion, but a certain percentage of people who were abused the way that you were abused, don't they turn out to be abusers themselves?
Yes.
And so what do you think is the difference that made it to where you were the opposite? You were like, no, I don't want to even hurt a fly.
I think therapy had a lot to play in that. Having the opportunity to sit down with a therapist for as long as I did and have those conversations, to talk through it, to talk
Right.
through the pain and to let go of some of the things that I had to let go of thanks to her help.
Yeah.
I think that might play a big part in it. Because I don't know if the people who are abusive because they were abused, I've heard it said, and even I've said it before, long ago, that the reason people that were abused as children are abusive as adults is because that's the only type of discipline they know. Because right. I think back to my stepdad and some of the things that his mom and dad put him through that were brutal. And he was that way with me. Now, my stepdad wasn't physical or sexual, but man, was he brutal when it come to verbal. And as I got older, matter of fact, it wasn't until I was in basic training for the military that I received a very long letter from my stepdad explaining to me his past and him apologizing for treating me the way he did and explaining to me what he went through and saying that he never knew what it meant to show love or receive love. And that's a lot of what went into how he treated me and my stepbrother. So I'm wondering if being raised that way, not having someone to talk to about it, not having that professional help, I'm wondering if maybe that has a lot to do with the fact that when you're abused as a child, you're abusive as an adult. Now, I'm not a psychiatrist or a psychologist by no means, but that's just me putting thoughts together in my head right at this moment.
Well, it's interesting to me because you were not, I mean, the therapy that you received that was beneficial to you, you didn't receive that until well into your adult years, correct?
No. I started my therapy at that 10 years old.
Oh, yes. Okay. I can see how that would have made a phenomenal difference.
I was 10 years old when I first started seeing a therapist.
I see. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I can see how that would make a world of difference. How fantastic.
And went probably 6 or 7 years.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. That very easily could have made all the difference in the world. Absolutely. Right. So that's fantastic. That's absolutely wonderful. Well, I think it's important to emphasize motivation. Mm-hmm. You know, I just think motivation is key here, and I think regardless of whether we come at this subject from wrong things for the right reason or right things for the wrong reason, I think it's important to always try to pull back the curtain and see what the motivation is, and then even maybe pull that possible curtain back, because it could be that what we're motivated by is not what we think we're motivated by. That we may have crafted a story or taken someone else's story and overlaid it on our own situation, thinking, that makes sense, when in reality there's something far deeper going on. Just to cut to the chase, my biggest concern with all of our hope after faith folks is that we do not continue to be motivated by religion.
Right.
Even when we think we're not being motivated by religion. And that's why I come back at this week after week, time after time, because I don't think there's anything special about me. No matter how super, super, super smart I may, joke about thinking that I am, obviously I don't feel that way. I feel like that if I suddenly discover that, hey, I'm still in this area of my life choosing my behaviors or instinctively acting in a way, and the motivation is directly related to some junk that I was taught, under the guise of religion, if that happens to me, that may be happening to everyone. Right. Or at least a lot of other people. And so to me, motivation is very, very important. That's the reason I was asking, why do you think you were motivated to be peaceful and do no harm when other people are motivated just the opposite? But it sounds like there was just fantastic intervention at just the right time.
Yes. That's one thing I can say that my mother was on the ball with. Yeah. Was getting me help. I can't even wrap my mind around how much money she spent to do that. That she probably didn't have being a single mom. Right. But that's one place in my life that I can honestly say she did not drop the ball.
Yeah, she was there.
Yeah.
Well, and taking this, looking at it from the 30,000 feet point of view, one of the reasons, a factor in why that therapy does you so well, does everyone so well in many cases, is because you have an outside influence. So often I think we try to fix our problems, we try to change our behavior with the same brain that already has the problem. It's right. it's like the car that's broken trying to fix itself. There needs to be an outside party. There needs to be a third party. There needs to be an outside influence. Just like you starting the show talking about, no longer smoking, trying to stop smoking. It's one thing to just try to do that inside your own head, and think your way through that process. But you've probably thought all of those thoughts hundreds, if not thousands of times, and it didn't take you to where you wanted to be. But you add a third element in. You bring something new in that does add new information to the situation and hopefully produces a different result. And so that's kind of where I'm coming from with this, is that if we can investigate our lives and look at maybe some of the wrong things we were doing, but maybe it was for the right reason, or vice versa, we can hear third voices. We can hear from outside of our own heads, add that information into our thought process, and really have changed behavior. Because, Bobby, what this comes down to for me is changed behavior. I am just as motivated now as I was when I was drawn into religion to live a better life and to be a better version of me.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I think of, I'm kind of on the same level. Behavior. It's all about, well, see, because the funny thing about Buddhism was that the way all right, let's try to say this without sounding like a dumbass redneck.
Well, that'd be difficult for either one of us.
Look, you have no idea how hard I try not to sound like Forrest Gump. The way they view it is that, let me make sure I've got this right. Thoughts control, how was it? Thoughts control behavior, behavior controls action, if I remember right. So they look at those three aspects of it, and that's the three aspects of your life that you work on. You work on your thoughts, you work on your behavior, and you work on the action of that final, of whatever that thought was. So I understand what you're talking about when you say that it comes down to changing your behavior, or having the same behavior with a different intent.
Right. The motivation has to be an important part of this. It just has to be.
Right. The intention behind the behavior.
That's right.
Right.
And the reason, one of the reasons that I like to investigate that is, quite honestly, I kind of like to think that I'm not the worst guy in the world. Yeah. It's easy to be criticized. You and I have talked about some pretty well-known people, criticizing us, criticizing one of our episodes.
Sure.
And so it's pretty easy to be criticized, and it's pretty easy to be critical of ourselves. But all in all, I can't remember too many times that I thought, you know what? Screw it. I know this is going to hurt everybody's feelings. I know this is going to really cause a problem, but I'm going to go ahead and just do it anyway. I'm just going to hurt everybody anyway. I'm just going to do this, and I know the outcome is going to be bad. I'm going to do this, and I know that it's going to destroy things. I just can't remember very many times that I didn't think the exact opposite. Almost every single time, 99.9% of the time, I'm like, oh, you know what? This is going to be good. This will be okay. This will make things better. Right. Only to be very, very, very surprised later on. And somebody be like, well, now that was stupid. And you'd be like, yeah, looking back, that was pretty stupid. But God, it seemed like a good idea at the time.
It's like it sounded so much better than that in my head.
That's right. It made so much sense
exactly.
in my head.
I can't tell you how many times I've said something and I'm like, that sounded so much better in my head, but it sounded really bad flying out of my mouth.
Yeah, Kelly will repeat things back to me in the order in which I performed them, and she'll, and when she does, I'm like, geez, yeah, I can see ignorance all over that. That's just absolutely coded in ignorance.
Oh, trust me. Ashley does that to me all the time. Did you really think about that before you said it? I'm like, yeah, I really did.
I really thought that through.
I really did.
I saw all kinds of scenarios in my mind. I played it out, and person A was going to respond this way, and person B was going to respond that way, and person C, and it all made sense. If they just could have lived it out in my head with me, it would have worked out fine.
Right.
But instead, now here we all are sitting in the clinker. Yeah.
Yeah, and now here I am chewing on the leather of my boot because I opened my mouth and inserted my foot over something that seemed so innocent in my head.
That's right. That's right. This, in my mind, this was going to produce an episode of Cribs, but instead it produced an episode of Cops. And so I don't know. I don't know how this went so wrong.
That is so true.
But nevertheless, it did. So
it did.
So real quick, did you come up with a couple of ways, that doing the wrong thing for the right reason? Was there anything that jumped out to you out of your life?
Yeah, but one of the things, but I could only think of one, and now trust me, that's not because I'm perfect. But there was one thing that happened so much throughout my life, growing up as a child to being an adult, having children. There's one thing that always was the wrong thing to do, but always for the right reasons, and that's lying.
Yes.
Absolutely. Many times I watched my mother tell my dad a bald-faced lie to keep him from beating the hell out of me. Right. It's a lie. That's the wrong thing to do. But her reasoning for doing it was spot on.
Right.
It's the whole concept of if your wife's best friend is getting beat by her husband and she comes to your house to get away from him and the husband knocks on the door, is my wife there? Well, what do? Do you tell the truth and go, yeah, she's in the back bedroom, gone in? Or do you say, no, sir, I haven't seen her?
Right.
To protect her.
Right.
Right. And I used part of that even as an adult with my kids to keep them out of trouble with their mom.
Yes.
So when it comes down to the wrong thing, which is lying for the right reason to protect your kids, that's about the only thing that I could come up with in my head that was so prevalent in my entire life.
And I accept that. And I know that, we're not a show based on philosophy, and I understand. I've read books that dealt with this situation, and if nothing else, I've seen some fantastic TED videos related to this, and I know it can be very, very deep, and I know it's been laid out in a very scientific, methodical way, and I'm not going to try to duplicate that. What I would love to do is maybe in our redneck Forrest Gump way, kind of push through all of the terminology and all of the academia that's been, created around this type of subject and push down into real life.
Sure.
Just right down into real life. And the first question that I would have to ask is, how did we ever learn that lying was wrong as human beings, not as individuals? You probably was, taught that by your mother or whatever. But as Homo sapiens, how did we get into this idea that lying was wrong? And of course, there's all types of wonderful theories behind that, and most of it, I'm sure, is going to involve around social structures and the need for there to be honesty in the sharing of resources. And if I can't trust you, then how can I give resources to you, feeling confident I'm going to get resources back, and that the trade is equitable, and all those things. And so I've got that. But the reason it's important to me, and I've noticed that I say "but the reason" a lot, but it's true. The reason that is important to me is because any time that I see someone struggle over issues like this, say like lying, and most of the time, what brings this to my attention is people feeling like they have to lie about their atheism in order to keep a job, to keep a marriage together, to not, hurt elderly parents, all kinds of things. What it always brings back to my mind is the Bible. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah, surprise.
And the story of the Garden of Eden, and God asking Adam and Eve, "Who told you were naked?"
Yeah.
Who told you were naked? Because I didn't tell you. Who told you were naked? a little bit of detective work. God's playing a little Batman there and is getting down to,
Yeah.
there must be somebody else involved in this situation, And so for years, I would preach this message one way or the other that was wrapped around, who told you were naked? Who told you that? And depending on where I was at in my own quote unquote spiritual journey at that time, I might be trying to help people feel better about themselves and be more comfortable in their own skin. And I would say, who told you was ugly?
Right.
Or who told you were not adequate? Who told you that you weren't enough? Who told you? And so there's a lot of different ways of going that. But I have to ask, who told us that lying was wrong?
Well, see, I can go back even a little further, especially when you're talking about who told you that you were naked, right? Because I look at it also a little deeper than that, saying, who made being naked a bad thing?
Exactly.
Right.
That is the point. That's
right. So who told
right.
you were naked? And why is being naked so terribly bad?
That's right. That's exactly right.
Right.
I mean, whichever Jewish scribe invented that story and put it to paper, there's probably some things about his physical attributes that we can guess right off the bat.
Yeah. Right?
Yeah, because he wasn't into showing off.
Right. He was the naked Trump statue. I got it.
That's exactly right.
And also, I do want to acknowledge John in the chat room said, stealing food because your child is hungry and you have no money.
See, that's a great scenario.
Yes. So
that's right.
That's very good, John. I want to make sure that I acknowledged you. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a fantastic situation that has to be looked at. And I know this has been dealt with extensively, but I'm glad that you took the hole I was digging and went even deeper, because I think it's what makes Hope After Faith, the podcast, unique. It's more than just dealing with the normal philosophical questions, do you or don't you, but it's going deeper to not only who told you were naked, but who said naked was wrong in the first place.
Right.
Exactly. That's a very, very important question that needs to be asked. Who told you were naked in the first place? So what that then takes me to, if it's okay for me to ramble on for a minute.
Absolutely, ramble on, buddy. This is your show too.
is then doing right for the wrong reasons. Okay, this is a perfect segue, because when we're not naked, in whatever way you want to use that as an analogy, when we're not naked and everybody's happy with our non-nakedness, and we're doing what's right, quote unquote, in everyone else's eyes, is it possible to be doing that for the wrong reasons?
Yes, very much so.
To be doing that just out of people pleasing, or
Right.
to be doing that out of fear, or whatever other negative reason that you could come up with. And that's my area of concern here, is that even though we've graduated from our religion and we've set ourselves free from superstition, are there any areas in which our lives are still limited because we're trying to do right, be something, do something, and the only reason we're trying to do it is actually a wrong reason?
Right. It goes back to while I was in religion, I was living my life to others' expectations. To now, as a non-believer, I'm living my life according to my own standards instead of someone else's. Because I did that a lot as a cop, living up to the expectations that people had of a police officer, right? Because you're expected to project a certain standard. You're expected to act a certain way. They have all these expectations that they put on you when they give you a badge and a gun.
Sure.
Right? And you are very much in the public eye. So everything that you do, of course, is critiqued by the public that you're serving.
Right.
And one of the things that I've often said, that I'll even say today, is that the public doesn't take enough time to look at the person behind the badge.
Right, sure.
They forget that there's a person in that uniform.
Of course,
Right.
With a life, with family
Right.
troubles, with financial
with the same
troubles,
worries that everybody else has, except on top of that, not only do they have their own worries, now they're dealing with everybody else's BS because they can't seem to deal with it. And
That's
John,
right.
you're right. Similar to being in the military, I did both. Right. So it wasn't until I got out of that mindset, got out of that quote unquote lifestyle. I know a lot of people don't like those words, lifestyle. But getting out of those two types of hell, it's lifestyle to me.
Sure.
And graduating from religion, and now that I'm actually living my life according to my own standards and doing the things that Bobby wants to do, I look back and I don't even know who those people were.
The people that you were trying to please.
Right. No. The people
the
as
people you were trying to
Bobby
be.
the cop, Bobby the soldier. You know, I don't even know who those people were because they, as it turns out, they wasn't the real me.
Right.
But I understand, going a little deeper here, that even through those years, I've changed. So was it really me then? And I've just changed as I got older and matured as I got older, gained a little bit more wisdom as I've gotten older. And now this is me.
Right.
Things that make you go,
Well, not wanting to just make the show completely useless,
our show is never useless, brother. Never.
I would say, at least my thoughts on the matter is that we are so complex as human beings that there really probably isn't a real us to start with. You know, there's the you that feels very natural, you know, waving to your neighbors as you go through the intersection.
Mm-hmm.
Then there's the you that makes love to your wife, and says and does things that you wouldn't say or do in the intersection, waving at your neighbors.
Sure.
But then there's the you that, jumps up and runs to the other end of the house when there's a loud, scary noise. There's the you that is set off by certain political issues that is completely contradictory to the you that is set off by other political issues. It may be very difficult to find the core you that I am actually always promoting, and I'm aware of that.
Right. Well, see, I remember when we were visiting with you and Kelly,
Right.
you had said that you don't really know who Jerry is.
Right.
Because for so long you put on this persona. You were the preacher, so you had to act like a preacher. You were a husband, so you had to act like a husband. And that resonated so deeply with me because at that, when you said it, I'm like, exactly. How do we know who we really are? Because
Right.
everything we do, even on our normal everyday life, everything we do to some point in time is, what's the word I'm looking for? Is
Influenced?
There you go. Thank you. Big word, small brain. Influenced by other people, by outside sources, by our job, by expectations, and everything else, to where when you lay down at night and you go to the bathroom, you're looking at the person in the mirror and you're asking that person, who the hell are you?
Right. Absolutely. And that's directly related to tonight's subject because you pay your bills on time. That's the right thing. Okay? It's the right thing to do, to pay your bills on time. And anyone can give you just a whole closet full of reasons why you should pay your bills on time.
Right.
And one of the first ones that comes off the top of my head is so that your credit stays good.
Right.
So that you can buy more things that you can then pay on time later on.
Right.
But
That evolving door.
Yeah, but there's a part of it. There's a part of paying your bills on time, just using something that generic, that oftentimes has come into your mind, come into your life by the influence of other people and their expectations that you don't want. For instance, isn't it strange that it seems if bill collectors, apparently they cannot be successful being nice.
Right.
Because if they could be, if they could be successful collecting money in a nice way, then they would do it.
Sure.
If being nice was a better way to collect money, it's their job to collect money. That's how those businesses function. So they would go to the better way. So apparently you need to be an ass to collect money,
Right.
Or act like
Right.
one anyway,
Yeah,
for that
exactly.
moment.
Right.
And so that's a good reason, or a reason to do the quote unquote right thing, so that you don't have to interact with people like that.
Right.
Yeah. But is that just fear? Is that fear of conflict? Is that pride that you don't want some stranger, probably not even in the same state with you, maybe not even on the same continent with you, shaming you because you didn't pay your bill on time? Is it impatience or sensitivity because you don't, your phone to ring every 15 minutes from the collector? Now, all of that may actually be good reasons to do this quote unquote good thing, but do you know? Have you taken the time, and I'm not suggesting people dissect their life in so many small pieces that they're actually sitting down and going, now, why do I pay my bills on time? Let me think about that. Let me stop everything. No, Johnny, there's no supper tonight. Jerry said I have to figure out why I pay my bills on time.
Poor Johnny.
I don't have time to cook supper for the family. I have to,
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, but I'm saying there definitely are areas that were on autopilot.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the software has been written by someone else, and we've just bought into their system.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't think there's anything wrong with reflection. I still enjoy the aspect of meditation, even though I'm no longer a Buddhist.
Sure.
Right, because that gives me my time to sit and reflect on things, to work things out in my mind and to put them into proper filing system that I have in my brain.
Right.
That helps me. Now, of course, meditation is not for everybody, and some people may even see it as woo-woo, but that's what helps me, was being able to quiet my mind and actually reflect on those parts of my life that either I don't like, those things that I want to change, but then to ask myself, why do I want to change them? Am I changing because someone else expects me to, or am I changing them because I want to? Does that make sense?
Exactly.
Okay.
No, that's perfect, and that's exactly where I was hoping that we would end up. See, that's that bromance
That's
got
what it
going
is, brother.
on.
It's that love.
It's that love.
baby.
That love just works it all around.
That's what it
That's
is.
exactly where I was hoping it was going, because we started the show off both agreeing that what we want is to change our behavior. To be the better version of us. Well, I want to strip this thing so naked. I want to get so free of all of my preconceived notions that I'm able to ask, well, why do I want to be better? Why do I want to be a better me?
Right.
And is that really a better me? Or has somebody told me I was naked and insinuated that I shouldn't be naked? But maybe I really would just prefer to be naked.
Maybe I like being naked.
Maybe I like being naked. Maybe I like not paying my bills on time. Maybe I'm lonely and I want people to call me and harass me, and so I'll have somebody to talk to about paying my bills.
Yeah.
There's a lot of different ways to live this life.
Sure.
But for lots of reasons, we fall into these ruts of existence, which is probably necessary. It's not like you need to, like you want to spend the time to relearn how to open a door every time you come to a door. It's okay to learn things and to move, more efficiently through life out of habit. But on the other hand, when this is really the only life that we have, it, above everything else, deserves a really, really intense amount of meditation, of inspection, of reflection.
Darwin. Preach, brother, preach.
So I would like to do that. I mean, I'd like to tear this thing apart enough to go, wait a minute, maybe I don't want to be skinnier. You know, maybe I like Popeye's chicken more than I like being attractive. You know,
right?
And I was only killing myself over this chicken because everybody else thought I was supposed to look a different way, and I was trying to please them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, what it comes down to is just being happy with the person that you are. You know, not living your life according to someone else's standards, because if you do, you're guaranteed to fail every time.
Right.
You know,
right.
Being happy with the skin you're in. You know, not like this is one of the things that Ashley and I have talked about before. Now, I can't speak for women because I'm a man, but I can because this is something that Ashley has expressed to me. So I'm speaking through her.
Gotcha.
Was the thing that bothers her the most is when she's looking at magazine stands and they project a woman as if she's supposed to be this type of person.
Right.
Right. And they put all this stress on women to live up to this magazine cover when in fact, chances are the person on the magazine cover isn't all that happy to begin with, because first of all, the girl looks like she could use a hamburger.
Absolutely.
You know, so, and that really bothers Ashley, because Ashley's like, why can't I just be happy with how I am?
Right. And not have to fight the whole world for it.
Right. Why does it matter what anyone else thinks of me? Why does that matter so much?
Right.
You know?
And we know, we do know, or at least we suppose, why that it does. And there's a very long evolutionary history of why it matters to us, because the people who it mattered to functioned in societies, functioned in small tribal groups better, and they lived long enough to breed more successfully.
Right.
And we inherited all of these byproducts of their success. Mm-hmm. And so we know why we have those those weaknesses, why we have those triggers, for a lack of a better word. But my contention is if we're able to free ourselves from really one of the most controversial subjects within our society, then why are we not looking at almost every other issue as well? And of course, I can hear the entire secular movement scream back and say, but we're looking at it in this social justice issue and this social justice, and that's true. That's all very, very true. But I'm wondering if there's not even a layer beneath that.
I'm pretty sure there is.
Yeah, I'm sure there is, and I don't know exactly what all it looks like, or I don't think I'm necessarily equipped to describe it at this point. But something draws on me, and draws me to this idea of, yes, Ashley should be able to be completely comfortable with herself, and also should be able to not feel negative effects from every single magazine on the newsstand, as you're trying to check out at Walmart.
Right.
The same way you eventually don't feel negative effects by seeing a Bible in the nightstand at the hotel.
Right.
That you're just like, that's so silly. Yeah. And I'm sure some people are better at this than others. Probably everyone is better at it than I am, because there's definitely people pleaser-ness running through my veins from, head to toe.
Yeah, I experienced a little of that earlier today.
Did you?
Yeah, remember when I texted you and said, I really want to go after this cat? Right?
Yeah, that's true.
Look, guys, let me tell you something. Jerry talks.
Go ahead.
This is kind of off subject, but Jerry, you heard Jerry talk about life coaching. That Jerry does a lot of life coaching for folks, and I told you guys a couple weeks ago that he coaches me daily. It's easy to say daily.
But that doesn't mean that it's right.
And today was another one of those days where I got my friendly life coach slap from my wonderful co-host here. But I experienced that today when you're like, right, but if you do that, you may project this, right? And you talked me down going, no. That's not the smartest thing to do.
Yeah.
So even today, I experienced that with you.
Well, I appreciate that, and I appreciate you giving me credit for that. But really, you life coach me back just as much on just as regular of a basis. Here's where I'm at. I can't tell you that my recommendation of not going after this guy, is actually the right way. And it could be an instance where I'm trying to do the right thing, but doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. This is a really, really good example. Just very quickly, for the listener who maybe hasn't put all the pieces together yet, Bobby and I did a show several weeks ago, and it made its way to a Christian apologist, very well-known Christian apologist.
Yeah.
Yeah, very well-known Christian apologist, and he did an entire show basically rebutting our show, and Bobby had a chance to listen to it today and ended up actually throwing his phone, across the vehicle out of frustration for the ignorance that this man was espousing. And my instinct is to let it go. Just not give this guy any airtime, not give this guy any more of an audience, which I feel like people like that are always trying to get. But is that my only motivation? Like one of the first things that I said to you, you told me that, he did everything but call me an idiot.
Yes.
And I said,
pissed
well,
me the hell off.
Yeah. And I said, well, it might be easier to prove him right than wrong.
Yeah. By going after him.
Yeah. By going after him and getting into a real contest with him, we don't really know what the outcome will be, But here's an interesting fact, something that I think I've seen enough of to really vouch that this is the truth. Because so early on, I got so beat up by so many people like that I just began to try to not pay attention to it, not to reply to it. I was trying to defend myself in every accusation, every time. I was just literally not sleeping, trying to deal with all of this at one time until I just really almost had a breakdown over all of it. It's also mixed in with all of that is also the fact that by dropping that fighting spirit, I lost a lot of attention via social media that I would have gotten otherwise. Because when you don't confront, when you don't have the argument, when you don't have the debate, then people don't have anything to read or listen to.
Yeah, well, I guess what it comes back to is picking your battles.
Yeah. I think picking your battles is very important. I do think it will always come back to a balance. What's a balance? Running away from every confrontation obviously isn't balanced. Running headstrong into every confrontation obviously isn't a balance. So there's probably going to be times that you're going to avoid and times that you're going to attack.
To where I'm more the attack person and you're more the no, Bobby, get your head out your butt and think about this type person.
Well, maybe we should. Maybe we truly should do an episode on it though, because it's probably, I haven't listened to it. I would assume that probably the rebuttal and the assertions that he makes against our show and the steps that we laid out, these are probably objections that our listeners run into from time to time. So it might be good for us to deal with it.
Yeah, you were just never really saved. Yeah.
That's the bottom line. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Right. And what's so frustrating, and not to derail the show in any way, but what's so frustrating about that is because there's no such thing as salvation, it is impossible to prove to someone that you were. It's impossible to prove to someone that you were something that doesn't exist.
Well, no, I don't know, Jerry. Had you just talked with the right apologist, it would have changed everything, according to this guy.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Trust me, I was throwing phones and yelling at my phone. I was like, "You son of a!"
Yeah, I didn't suspect that he interjected anything new.
Yeah, it just flew me hot. I mean, you don't go after Jerry, man. You go after Jerry, you're going after me, and that's not cool.
Well,
so
I do think, though, it's a good example of where I need to back up and I need to investigate my own way of doing things, and I need to say, okay, I feel like not getting in a fight with this guy is the right thing. And maybe it is, but is it possible that I'm motivated by the wrong reasons? And I think that's always a very real possibility.
And I think only you know that answer.
Yes, that is one thing. That is one throwback I'll give to philosophy, is that I think there is somewhat of a consensus out there that for many of the real questions, the tough questions, there is no right or wrong answer. There's only your answer.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See there? Not super smart, but smart. See there?
You did it. You did it. No. You're so smart. There's not enough time to put enough supers in front of it.
That's what it is.
So we just have to cut it short, redact it to smart.
No, please continue. Go ahead. You're doing great. Please continue.
Super.
There you go. I'll just let you know when to stop.
I cannot
awesome.
tell you, but I kid you not. Somewhere in the midst of saying all those supers, I suddenly got a hankering for what was this stuff called? It was really, 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 really thin slices of like roast beef, almost like deli slices of it. But you would fry it up, and my grandmother, Mama, would make me these wonderful sandwiches. There must be something about the name of it that's similar to super. I don't know why, but
Got you
there
thinking
you go.
about it.
That's how my brain works. That's the reason why I can't get anywhere, and I ended up an atheist, because that's how my brain works.
There you go. Todd said, so right thing for the wrong reasons. I volunteer a lot, and while it's good for the community, a big motivator is because I'm lonely, and it's a way to get out and interact with people.
Right. So would that be a wrong reason?
I don't think so at all.
So far, I don't think it would be. But now, once again, it would be up to, Todd to determine that for himself. But
even Angie said, I wouldn't call that a wrong reason.
No. Now, if he's trying to say that it makes him look like he's being charitable, but he knows in his heart it's not as much about the charity as it is about being social, once again, I would say, who told you you're naked?
Well, and I know Todd, and trust me, he's very charitable. He has a very giving heart about him, so I know that that's definitely not the motivation.
Yeah, and even John brought up, says that may be selfish but not wrong, and that's one of my favorite words about selfish, and it goes back to who told you were naked. In other words, who said being selfish was a bad thing? That's the language that we've been taught, and that's the only definition that we really know about it. But I mean, have you ever eaten a sandwich for somebody else?
Nope.
Exactly. Mm-mm. You are responsible for your gut. You're responsible for your one stomach. You're responsible for your one whatever. It is your primary responsibility.
Yep.
And if you do not tend to it, then you will not be making sandwiches for anybody else, So I think there's a level of complexity here that deserves respect. And whenever we don't, even as secular people, when we don't allow these issues, or any issue for that matter, to become as complex as it really is, when we do not recognize its complexity, I say we're being religious, because that's one of religion's primary benefits, is it takes what is actually complex and makes it simple.
Right on.
Even though it really doesn't.
Exactly.
It just coats it in a way. It's like, no, that's not eaten up with termites. That's a fresh coat of paint. Can't you see that fresh coat of paint?
It just covers it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
It
exactly
puts
right.
up a false front.
It does put up a false front, and I think it insults reality. I think it insults reality.
I agree. So what's the wrap up before we take our break and we get to Stump the Preacher?
Well, why don't you give us the wrap up? Because I've rambled on for forever.
No, you're so much better at wrap up than I am.
No, you're super. Steak 'em. That's the name of the meat.
Oh, I remember the Steakums.
You remember Steakums?
Yeah, I remember those.
Oh my gosh.
Right, you
that
get a
was
little 6-inch sub bun, man, and it would be good. I remember
Oh.
those.
Yeah, Steak 'em.
Yeah, wow. So, if I had to give a wrap up, and mine would be a lot shorter than yours because you're so much of an intellectual, and I'm
long-winded. I know.
and I'm just some redneck sitting here in Southeast Georgia. If I had to wrap it up, my wrap up would be this: live your life according to your own standards. Live your life for your own happiness. Don't live your life for anyone else's. Don't live your life according to anyone else's expectations. Because ultimately, in the end, you're the one that has to look at yourself in the mirror every day. What it comes down to is, are you happy with the person you're looking at it in the mirror? If you're not, the only person that can change it is you. And you have to sit back and you have to figure out, what is it that I don't like about the person looking back at me, and get to work. I think we've all been there at one point in time to where there's something about us that we personally didn't like. And we went to work to fix whatever it was we didn't like about ourselves. The main thing is, folks, make sure you're doing it for you. Make sure you're the reason you want to improve yourself, not for someone else.
That's right.
So that would be my wrap up. Short and sweet.
I love it.
Short and sweet. That's kind of the way I roll, man. I'm about as deep as a puddle. So.
Oh, would you stop? Short and sweet. That's me. That's what I should have tattooed. I'm going to get a tramp stamp.
No,
short and sweet.
No, if your voice was a little lower, you'd be sweet and low. But I understand.
Oh, sweet and low.
I understand.
Oh, I like that a lot. Sweet and low.
Sweet and low,
that's,
baby.
That's great, man. That's wonderful.
All right, so let's do this, guys. Let's take us a break. My coffee cup is empty, and I can always use a fresh coffee, and give everyone a chance to run and fill up their drinks, run to the bathroom. You know what? Just sit back and take a break, because we're going to take a break. It's going to be about 4 minutes, and then we come back. And, I sat down today, Jerry, for hours trying to figure out a great intro for Stump the Preacher. Right?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Right.
I sat down for hours thinking about, okay, and try to work some things through creating this piece of fine art and creating this audio and creating this. And none of it sounded right to me, so I got rid of every bit of it.
Oh.
I think I made 9 different intros for this segment tonight and wasn't happy with none of them.
You should have sent it to me. I probably would have loved it.
No, I got rid of them. No, I'm not going to send one to you until I'm happy with it. And that's just me.
That's just you.
So I deleted them all. They're gone. So I'm going to eventually create something that I'm happy with, that I can submit to Johnny D over here. And yes, I meant Johnny D on purpose. And and
anybody who's been listening gets it.
You understand. So I'm hoping in the near future to have an actual intro segment for Stump the Preacher, but unfortunately I wasn't happy with anything I did today. So we're going to do it blind, or I guess quiet. this week until I get one. So we're going to take this break, and we come back. We're going to get into Stump the Preacher. We have 10 voicemails that was sent to us over the last month that are very wide-ranging, between presidents to things that aren't even on this planet.
Oh, my God.
And there's some that I don't have a clue what it is.
Oh, no.
So if that number is selected by the beautiful Miss Ashley, if we gotta look it up, we will. Because I tell you what, Jerry, we got some very, very smart listeners.
You know, that
Very
seems
smart.
like an oxymoron that we would have smart listeners. If they're so smart, why are they listening to us?
Because they are smart. That's why they listen.
I was coming from the old Marx, philosophy, Groucho Marx, of I wouldn't belong to a club that have me as a member.
Right. Right. Hey, I so understand that. So coming up next, guys, we got Stump the Preacher. We're going to take this break, and listen, y'all don't go anywhere, because I promise you, this is about to get even more interesting than the first half of the show was. So y'all don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
You're listening to Hope After Faith with Jerry DeWitt and Bobby C.
Visit secularmediagroup.com to see how we're changing the world.
Get in on the conversation. Live tweet during the show at Hope After Faith, or join Jerry and Bobby in the chat room on Spreaker.com.
Get sexy with Dr. Darrell Ray and Secular Sexuality, only on Secular Media Network.
Previously on Hope After Faith. We're going to do another live show, brother.
I'm so excited. Let me tell you. I mean, I preached probably, without exaggeration, hundreds of messages against religion. Oh my God. The things that came out of my mouth.
Come on. You know you want to do it. Come on.
Yes. You do love me, Bobby. You do love me. Give me my long lens.
Get that 300 millimeter lens, honey. Focus in real good.
This is what makes me so furious with the atheist movement.
All right, they see a minister, or they see a Christian or a believer of some type doing, saying, being something that they don't like, and they will treat that person as if that person is Hitler and is intentionally trying to exterminate an entire race of people.
Honey, what is this handbasket for? That's what we're going to hell in, honey.
Exactly, that's right. Notice it's a two-seater.
That's our ride to hell.
That's right. Yeah, we got the leather seats just so we'd be comfortable on the descent. Something just dawned on me. Since you are Bobby C,
I am.
I want to be Jerry D. Of course you're here to listen to me, because it's awesome. Because whenever you hear my voice, you imagine my hair.
Do you have what it takes to stump the preacher? We'll be starting a brand new segment called Stump the Preacher. Several episodes ago, Jerry had me name a person, a place, and an object, and he extemporaneously did a 2-minute sermon using all three things. If you think you have what it takes to stump the preacher, call 630-7DWIT. That's 630-7DEWITT, and leave your name and a message with these three things: a name, a location, and an item. If we receive multiple requests, each will be numbered according to when they were received and placed in a hat. Once a month, numbers will be drawn live on the air by a third party. If your number is drawn, your message will be played on the air, and if you stump the preacher, you will receive a very nice gift. Once again, that number to call is 630-7DWIT. That's 630-7DEWITT. Do you have what it takes to stump the preacher?
I'm not afraid.
Yeah. It's been a ride. I guess I had to go to that place to get to this one. Now some of you might still be in that place. If you're trying to get out, just follow me. I'll get you there.
All right, folks, welcome back to Hope After Faith. Well, I turned that music off quick, didn't I? All right.
That was quick.
I was. Well, I will go ahead and pull the curtain back a little bit for you guys. We are having a lot of issues with Skype on my side. And if I start playing music, Jerry can't hear it. And while the music's playing, he hears me all chopped up and really nasty on his side. So I tried to shut the music off pretty quickly so that you would know that we were back, Jerry. Guys, it is a pleasure for me to welcome to our episode tonight my beautiful wife. We call her the Mouth of the South. It's Miss Ashley. Hey, honey.
Hey, y'all.
How you doing?
Fine. How are you?
Doing good. So what I'm going to do is
Well, hold on. Can I say hey to Jerry?
No, well, I guess.
Hey,
Hello,
Jerry.
Miss Ashley.
Hello, Mr. Jerry. How are you?
I'm doing really good. How are you?
Trying to stay dry.
Trying to stay dry. Well, can you answer a question for me?
I can do my bestest.
Since you're actually there in the studio with Bobby.
Yes, sir.
Is he really naked under his clothes?
Hold on. Yep.
Wow. All this time I thought it was just a joke.
You know, he does that a lot.
Does he really?
Yes.
He's tricky.
He walks
He's a
around
tricky
naked
one.
up under his clothes. He even does it in public.
What?
Yes.
I
Atheist.
do. I'm a rebel like that. I walk around naked under my clothes in public in
You
front
know,
of people.
traffic clears for him, too, when he walks through town.
Because
Does
they,
it really?
Yeah, because they know I'm naked under these clothes.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'm impressed, Bobby.
You should
I
try
really
it
am.
sometime, Jerry.
I'm going to start doing that.
Well-
I'm going to start being naked under my clothes.
Look, just walk through town with that song, Baddest Man Alive on.
Bobby won't play it for me no more, and if he did, I couldn't hear it.
Exactly. That's why I don't play it anymore. You won't be able to hear the daggone thing.
Sorry, I didn't mean to open that wound.
In the chat
Thanks a
room,
lot.
in the chat room, Angie said, "Hi, Ashley."
Hi.
All right, so what we're going to do is we're going to do Stump the Preacher. And how this works is when we have multiple people call in with voicemails like we did over the last month, I put numbers in a hat and I have my wonderful wife draw a number out of a hat. And she's going to tell you guys what number it is. And then that is the number that I'm going to play for the voicemail. Now, they are numbered as they come into our mailbox. So whatever number she chooses, that's the voicemail we're going to play. Now, this is going to have to be a little different because Jerry can't hear the voicemail.
Yeah, that's right. So I'm just going to make crap up.
So you're going to have to just trust me, Jerry.
Boy, I guess you figured out a
you're
way
not
to
making it up.
That trust me that I'm not making this stuff up. Okay, if
I may wait for somebody in the chat room to tell me that yes, it is what you said it was.
well, depending on which one, the person, I will say the name of the person that did the voicemail, and then they can email you and go, "Yep, that's really what I said." So, Miss Ashley, if you will, draw a number out of the hat. And then tell me what number.
Okay,
you
while I'm
wanna-
getting ready to draw this, does this mean that since Jerry can't hear the voicemail, that you figured out a way to stump the preacher?
Let's look at it. I should make myself a T-shirt.
Yep,
huh?
you should. So the
gonna
lucky
have a
number
t-shirt.
this week
Yep, is
is drum roll number 9.
number 9.
Wasn't it 9 last time? No,
It was
hadn't had this
7
many
last
before.
time.
I was about to say, I remember what number I drew
It was
last
7. So number 9. All right, Jerry, you won't be able to hear this voicemail, but I promise you, when I'm done playing it, I'll tell you what it is, and then the people listening will be able to confirm that what I'm saying is true. Okay?
I'm nervous. I get sick of being nervous. I feel weaky. I feel weakified.
I would too if you didn't know what you were supposed to do.
I know.
Well, you will know here very shortly. All right. So I'm going to play this for the listeners to hear, and then I'll tell you what they are. Okay, Jerry?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. Let me make sure that I make this stop at the end here. All right, here we go. Number 9. Play, dadgummit.
Oh, my God. See, and I wouldn't have known the
All right,
difference.
wait.
Jerry D.
Oh, it was started. Here we go.
Hey, Bobby C. Jerry D. This is Davey G again. I just wanted to submit for the Stump the Preacher. I was the one that had suggested that on Facebook. and thought it'd be a good idea, and I'm glad you guys went with it. So the options are my submission is Joel Osteen, An Outhouse, and Lace Doilies. Ready, y'all, to put the words.
All right, Jerry.
Oh, God.
All right, first of all, the person's name. Now, here's something so cool. It's cool that Ashley chose this number, or drew, whatever. This number. The person that is going to try to stump you this week was the person who actually came up with this idea.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
If you remember right, I told you we had a listener get in contact with us and said, hey, I got an idea for a segment for the show, and it's called Stump the Preacher. Well, this person's name is Davey G.
Right.
And he was the one that came up with this whole idea. So that's pretty cool that his number was picked this week. And his three things are Joel Osteen, An Outhouse. The items is laced doilies.
Oh my God!
Laced.
Is that set on furniture? A lace doily?
Yeah, the doilies
like a tabletop.
Yeah, like your grandma would make doilies, and she put her knickknacks on top of the doilies.
Oh my God!
Right. So it's Joel Osteen, An Outhouse, where you go potty, and laced doilies. I know you probably need to take a second and collect your thoughts and get ready, but you wanted me to. It don't really. Well, never mind, because it don't apply this time. But I will tell you last time you wanted me to remind you how you used a location, but it does not matter this time because
there's no location.
Well, there is a location. It's the outhouse.
Oh yeah, right. But it's not a place.
Right, but you can't go from Michigan to the outhouse. You can't do that.
Right.
So, here we go.
Okay.
Whenever you are ready, sir. All right, Davey G, it's time to see, sir, if you are going to walk away with a I Stumped the Preacher t-shirt and a signed copy of Hope After Faith. Here we go.
Before we start, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Can I... Oh, gosh, my mic fell. God dang it. Ashley, you're bad luck on my mic. So can I like really preach and not be like super silly?
Yeah, no, preach.
But I don't mean like screaming out loud, but I mean like give a real message and not try to be silly about it.
The segment
as silly.
The segment is Stump the Preacher. So
okay. All right, I'm being accused of stalling. I'm moving. I'm going. I'm ready.
You are stalling.
Oh, John called you out. Someone is stalling.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
All right, go.
Well, I understand what it's like to stand before the world and to feel as if all of life is judging you. I know what it's like to stand before your critics, to stand before the naysayers, when you're trying to pull yourself up, when you're trying to change your life, when you're trying to walk forward into a bright future. I know what it's like to stand in front of the voices of the critics as they shout out to you that you're not smart enough, you're not tall enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not good enough, you're not strong enough, you can't go far enough, you can't dig deep enough, you can't fly high enough, you can't step far enough. I know what it's like to stand in front of your critics, but I'm here to tell you that if you think I'm wearing a Joel Osteen smile now, you ain't seen nothing yet, honey, because I'm just starting to find my place. I'm just starting to know who I am. I've stepped into the outhouse. I've stepped into the whereabouts. I've stepped up. I've stepped down. I've stepped backwards. I've stepped forward. I've put things together. I've put my life in place. I've wrapped it around a pretty little doily lace. I know what it's like to stand in front of everyone as they criticize. I know what it's like to hear the voices deep in the night. I know what it's like to feel the pains of doubt. I know what it's like to shout on the inside and for no one to hear you. But I also know what it's like to watch the morning break. I know what it's like to watch the day me take. I know what it's like to finally make the mistake and to go past it, go beyond it, go before it, go higher, go further, go deeper into yourself than you've ever gone before. I know what it's like because I, like you, know me.
Man. Preach, brother, preach. Wow. You know what? That was awesome. But Ashley has a question.
Yeah, I just have one question. That's it. Jerry, do you know what it's like?
I've got an idea.
Man, that was so good, Jerry. Davey G, thank you very much for the idea of the segment. I think it's a wonderful segment. It came from a brilliant man named Davey G, but unfortunately, Davey, Jerry, you didn't stump the preacher this time. Jerry actually did some preaching tonight. I think this is the first time that we've heard you actually do some preaching. You know, because normally it's just you kind of make a funny thing out of it, and then it's a stump the preacher thing. But this was kind of deep tonight, bro.
Well, thank you.
Had me listening.
Yeah, I mean, we got all kind of Darwins and Ramins, and John now needs a cigarette, and he was speaking in tongues earlier.
Hell, I was thinking the same thing. I need a cigarette after that one.
Thank you. Well, we're in a weird situation where there's people around where there hasn't always been people around, and so it was difficult to, try to find a balance to be able to get into it, but not necessarily, upset everyone else that was around. So hopefully one of these days the Stump the Preacher will fall in the right place at the right time, and we'll really try to preach then. But thank y'all for being kind and generous.
Yeah, that was awesome. So thank you very much, honey, for coming on and drawing Mr. Davey G's number.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah.
I can go back to playing my game now?
You can go back to playing your game now.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, honey.
Thank you. You guys have a good night. Good night, y'all.
Good night, Ashley.
Good night, darling. That's my wonderful wife, Miss Ashley. That's her. So, Jerry, that was really, really good. Now, I can tell you the only thing that I can tell you that would have topped that. Want me to tell you what it was?
Yes, please.
Speaking in tongues to end it.
Well, I'm going to tell you what. If I ever do that, it will be on our show.
I know it will be.
I won't give that to anybody else.
I know it will be. Look, remember I told you I was going through audio today trying to put an intro together for the Stump the Preacher segment, and I found audio of Tilton.
Did you?
Yeah, and you know his whole speaking in tongue thing, right?
Right.
And I downloaded a crap load of him speaking in tongues. And I started to use that, and I thought, nah, that really don't have much to do with, stumping the preacher.
It is interesting. I mean, it's amazing, Bobby, and I know you experienced this because I think we've talked about it before. It's amazing how the longer we're out and the further away from that way of thinking that we get, just how absolutely ridiculous certain things now seem.
I agree.
And that's one of them for me. I mean, now don't get me wrong, even probably in my height of my Pentecostal days, Tilton, just the way he carried himself, I would have I was still very much turned off. I've got such a cute story. I think I talk about it in Hope After Faith about one of my friends getting called out by Tilton on television. But
yes.
Yeah. But it would have been everything else but his speaking in tongues that I would have found ridiculous.
I agree.
But now even that is part of it. So.
Yeah. His whole send me $1,000 so that your daughter will be cured of cancer, and if you need to, send me your retirement money.
Yeah,
and I'm like, what? You're kidding me?
Yeah, I would have never, ever would have never accepted any of that type of doings. Hated it the whole time, and because I did hate it so bad and rejected it, my pocketbook reflected that.
Yeah. Well, see, I can remember sitting back, it's late at night, you can't really go to sleep, and you're flipping through channels, and down here in the South, way back when, we only had 3 channels because there was no cable in my house. We had the rabbit ears antenna on a 12-inch black and white TV, right? And you're flipping through your 3 channels, and all 3 channels is something that has to do with preaching, 700 Club or something.
Sure.
So that's what you were stuck with watching overnight.
Absolutely, that's right.
And I remember laying there. I would say I was a teenager. I don't know my exact age, but high school age. And I remember laying there watching Tilton, and he was telling people to put their hands on a television screen, and the Spirit of the Holy Spirit would travel through the airwaves, through your television screen, into the palm of your hand, and give you your healing.
Right.
And
that's exactly right.
I was deeply rooted into my religion then. Right? And I was one of those idiots that put his hands on the TV.
Did you do it?
Yes, I did. Yeah, because I was so deeply rooted in it. And now I sit back and I look at it and I'm like, God, what an idiot I was.
But Bobby, I mean,
I was so stupid back then. Or at least I feel that way now.
Yeah, but it made sense.
Yeah, because God can do anything. Time.
Yeah, and because you have this narrative, you have this explanation of how the supernatural works in your mind. Much like the way that you would explain how the warp drive works in Star Trek.
Right.
You can sit down and you can explain how that works, even though it's not real and it really doesn't work, and it might not ever work,
Yeah.
But you have those types of answers for every bit of that. And it made sense about the point of contact. It made sense about an act of faith, an act of obedience. It even made sense about the Holy Spirit having a conduit. I mean, all of those things made sense with that story. And to tie that in with tonight's show, I would say, okay, you did the wrong thing by putting your hand on the TV, but because you're a human being and you had needs in your lives, and humans are very complicated, people, you did it for the right reason.
Yeah. Yeah, I just looked like an idiot doing it, and I'm just glad. I'm glad there's nobody else around to see it. But as you were talking, I was sitting here thinking, the overnight is perfect, because most of the time, most people that are up in the middle of the night because something's bothering them. There's something that is keeping them awake. There's something that just not settling right with them, and maybe internally they're searching for an answer.
Absolutely.
And now 2:00 in the morning, here comes Super Preacher, with the right message at the right time that fits your situation, and you're like, man, he's talking to me.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a convergence of a couple of things, and that's a very, very important part of it. They're able to get the airtime much cheaper. Because it's not prime time. It is what is theoretically going to be, a less viewed time.
Right.
But it doesn't matter to them. I mean, they're really, if they had the money, they would pay more for it, even if it was more expensive, because exactly like you're saying, it's the right time. It is exactly the right time. It is when people are trying to feel different. And one of these days we'll dig that deep into all of this, and I know we've touched on it in times past, but that really is what's going on. Is people are trying to feel different. They're trying to change how they feel at that moment, and that's what you're offering them. You're offering them an opportunity, a way out of one state to the next, and that's where the money's at. That's where the money's at in so many different ways in our society. Is if you can point out to someone the negative state they're in, if you can point towards the positive state that they want to be in, and you can show that you're the bridge between those two states, you're making money.
Oh yeah, no doubt.
That's what they do.
Well,
that's exactly.
Well, I can even remember hearing radio preachers, and I remember that you at one time was one.
Yeah, that's right.
That you were on the radio preaching. And there's been times that on Sunday morning you'll hear a radio preacher tell you to put your hands on the radio on your dash.
Sure, absolutely.
And I felt like an idiot doing it, or at least now looking back, I'm probably an idiot for doing it. But I can clearly understand when you're so desperate for an answer.
Absolutely.
When you're so desperate for just something.
That's exactly, and that's what it comes down to. And that's the reason that I say it's for the right reason, even though it's the wrong thing. It's for the right reason, because you can't criticize someone, number one, who doesn't know any better to start with.
Right.
But then number two, who is desperate and who's looking for any answer that they can get a hold of. And I think I find it interesting that the charismatic movement, the Pentecostal movement, because it was so important that there was the contact, the physical contact of the preacher laying hands on you, and there's biblical support for that methodology, that as technology advances and your market grows through radio, like you said, the first time in radio, that you would naturally morph that methodology into a larger market by saying, okay, now put your hand on the radio,
Right.
And it's as if you're still fulfilling the methodology that's described in the Bible of the laying on of hands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's, I know I've even heard Dawkins talk about this. That's the reason why the U.S. has been more successful with creating religion and competing religions than anywhere else, is because we have such freedom of religion. It allows them to compete, and the people who can evolve with the present technology and take advantage of it, literally even shape their doctrine, shape their theology to take advantage of it, are going to be ultimately more successful. And so then how much more tempting is that offer? So once again, it just makes the reason you're doing it that much more justifiable.
That much more, yeah.
I like trying to figure out what makes things work.
Yeah, I like trying to figure out what makes people tick.
Yeah, me too. With the hopes that I might accidentally stumble across something that, makes me tick. And then I'll be like, and while I'm on that, I wanted to second what you were saying with the wrap up of the last segment about, are you happy with that person in the mirror? And I would like to just take that maybe one step further and just say, is the person in the mirror happy?
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's a fair thing to be asking. That may be another one of these, bill of goods that we've been sold that really is a bunch of BS. Maybe we're pursuing happiness because we've been told to pursue it, and maybe that's not really a thing. I don't know. I'm willing to, put everything on the table, tear it all apart, get naked, and try to figure it out. But at this moment, I would think, yeah, that's a really good question. Are you happy with the person in the mirror? And is the person in the mirror happy?
Yeah, that's a huge part of Buddhism is happiness, because the way they teach it is we are constantly striving for true happiness.
Right.
And for so many people, it's the whole concept of, if I only had a different job, I'd be happy. Or if I only had a different boyfriend or girlfriend or significant other, I'd be happy. Or if I had this car, I'd be happy. All these things that we put our happiness in that are material things. If only this, then I'd be happy. The problem is you get that thing, and then you're only happy for a week or two, and then all of a sudden you're unhappy again, because you put your happiness in a material object that ultimately is going to let you down. Your car is going to get scratched. You're going to have a wreck. Your new significant other is going to upset you. You're going to have an argument. All these things that you put your happiness in, you put all your hopes of happiness into these external things, when in fact, the true source of happiness is found within you. You are the one that is in charge of your happiness. And that's a major Buddhist philosophy, And what it all comes down to, when it comes from the Buddhist aspect of it, is non-attachment.
Right.
Not being attached to something, because it is that attachment to a person, that attachment to an object, that is going to continually keep you unhappy. And so for the 7 years that I spent studying Buddhism, and as a Buddhist, I mean, I went through Buddhist vows, was given a Buddhist name, the whole ordeal. That was the one thing that I often heard taught over and over and over is happiness. How do you get happiness? What is true happiness? And even now, as an atheist, I sit back and I can still, I can resonate with that. Mm-hmm. You know, even today, I'm not very attached to much. You know, because I'll sit back and go, well, you know, that's just. It's just an object. It's going to go away. Yes. It's not permanent. It's impermanent. It's going to go away. You want to be attached to it because then that makes you unhappy. And it's this whole, to me, it's circular.
Sure.
And you never can get out of that circle.
Right.
You know? Sorry, I kind of went on a tangent about Buddhism.
No, I think that's very, very appropriate. I'm going to second what people are saying about the comment that Sarah made, that, you know, she's saying strive for contentment, not happiness. And I think that's some play on words there as well. You know, I think what the Buddhists are referring to as happiness probably is much more about contentment.
Sure, I agree with that.
You know, yeah, it's not about, you know, overwhelming joy, giggles all day long, but is a contentment.
Yes.
And it's interesting to me that we, as atheists, and I may have this completely wrong, and if I do, I'll definitely back up and look at this some other way. But I just feel like when we free ourselves from supernaturalism and from superstition, particularly in our culture, we've really done such a big thing that nothing else should be off limits now. Investigating any other subject shouldn't be off limits. I mean, maybe people out there who are no longer believers, maybe they should also be vegans. You know, maybe they should look into that area as well. Maybe they should be nudist. Maybe they should be polyamorous. Maybe they should not be polyamorous. Maybe they should not be nudist. And you know, I mean, I don't know for each individual. But I think now we're to the place when we've asked and answered such a controversial question, then we might as well ask and answer all these other questions. And really, it's exactly what you're saying. It comes back to happiness / contentment and our attachment to it. And if we, where I was going with that is if we've been able to give up our attachment to God.
Yeah.
Then what else can we give up our attachment to?
Yep.
As you know, as deemed necessary.
Right.
And the other side of it is there a way to just and I wrestle with this idea a lot. I mean, I hope people don't come to our show looking for clear-cut answers. I hope they actually enjoy, you know, living in our heads with us for a few minutes. But I have a totally different thought sometimes too, is, you know, the most interesting people in the world are the ones who are the biggest mess.
Isn't that the truth?
The poets, you know, the people who live in romanticism that are very passionate and very attached, you know, and very miserable, you know. And I'm just wondering, you know, maybe I would be, as crazy as this sounds, maybe I would actually be more content with being more miserable.
No.
And not fighting it.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because just by not fighting it, you're happy.
Yes, that's right. That's right. You're far more content with your situation when you're no longer fighting.
When you're no longer fighting it.
Yeah. I mean, I'll be honest with you. I really think, and this may be one of those failed, you know, trying to pursue happiness scenarios that we all create in our minds. I could get there and it still not be right. But oftentimes I feel like that what the world wants out of me. This is from my marriage to my family to the listeners on this podcast, to people who've read about me in the New York Times, to people I work with in consulting and life coaching, I feel like what the world wants from me, and if you hate this person, disregard that and substitute somebody that you like for it. But what the world wants from me is for me to be Tony Robbins and to have the answer and to fly on a jet and to, basically be larger than life.
Yeah. Awaken the Giant.
Awaken the Giant. Oh, I love that book so
It's a
much.
great book. I've read it.
But I feel like that's what everybody wants out of it. For me to be untouchable. For Kelly, I feel like she wants to be able to come in, be in a bad mood, and it not affect my mood. Paul, for him to have needs and for it not to throw me off because, oh my God, my son has needs and I got to try to figure out how to fix this, and for work, for me to just be able to, do all of this unaffected. But how I feel like I would really be happy is if I could somehow afford about a 200 square foot apartment in Manhattan, and I could live amongst a tribe of Woody Allens.
Okay.
And we could just all whine and moan together.
Right.
And I could just sit at
Just live in your misery,
shop,
huh?
just live in the misery and just sit at the coffee shop and then be like, oh no, like last night.
And complain and bitch.
Yeah, bitch and complain and everything is sad and everything. I really think I would fit in with that so well because I dearly love that humor. I love that sense of humor.
Yeah, I can see that.
I love that. And so, and I try to make people laugh a lot of times I'll whine about things that I'm not even, upset about, just to try to create a subject matter for people to hopefully laugh about and enjoy. But that's the weirdness of it, is I would actually be more content with being miserable.
I can think back to a time when I was quick to make a fool out of myself just to make someone else laugh.
Sure.
I didn't mind being the butt of the joke if it made everyone happy and made them laugh. And somewhere along the way from that time till now, I've lost that person. I mean, I'll still cut up at like Target or something just to embarrass the hell out of Ashley, because I enjoy that. But
sure,
somewhere along this path that I've taken, these many paths that I've taken in life, I lost that person, and I loved who that person was because nothing bothered him. He had no worries. Even when everything was falling down around him, he was still the guy who would make a joke, or the guy who would do something stupid in front of everybody just to make everybody laugh, even if they're laughing at him.
Right.
I didn't mind that. So it's funny because you were talking about living with Woody Allen's, and
exactly,
and the humor in that, and it made me instantly think about how I would cut a fool and make myself to be an absolute fool in front of everybody. But why? Just to make them happy. But at the same time, as I say that now, I look back at that person, and the first thing I wonder is, what's missing? What's missing in that Bobby then, that he felt he had to do that to gain acceptance?
Yes, because it does sound like there would be a real desire for acceptance in the midst of that.
Yeah. Right, wanting to be the center of attention, right?
Yeah.
But now I look at it, I miss that person, but as I sit here on this microphone tonight, I pity that person.
Yeah, yeah. Well, that's another case.
Does that make sense?
Oh, it makes perfect sense, and I think you've taken it to a fantastic place, a beautiful place. It's another fantastic example of doing the right thing because you were making people laugh, you were being humorous, you were more, it sounds like in some ways more comfortable in your skin because you were willing to be the butt of your own joke, those kind of things. So it was another example of doing the right thing, but now you're looking back with some wisdom and more experience, and you're saying, but I might have been doing it for the wrong reasons, or at least partially for the wrong reasons, maybe not completely for the wrong reasons. But I'm wondering I'm wondering, and maybe I'm trying to relive an experience. I know that I became addicted in religion to the next revelation. Okay. Mm-hmm. Whenever I would see something in the Bible and it suddenly made all of the rest of the Bible look different.
Right.
And I was like, oh my God, that's what all that means. That's how all that fits together. And I mean, I became addicted to that.
The awe.
The awe.
Yes.
Exactly. The
Yep.
awe of that. I
Yep.
became addicted to that. Hang on. I'm about to have to kill a cat.
Oh, well, don't do it all on the air because, you got PETA involved in everything.
Yeah, exactly. So I threw a pin.
And I'm sorry, you have a sweet cat.
I do have a sweet cat,
Yeah.
but she's about to tear up some stuff here in the studio because the door's been opened and she's been left in here. And I'm not going to name any names, but there's only 2 adults in the whole area. But
Right.
anyway.
And you're one of them. I got it.
Yeah, exactly. And so
We're not going to say no names, Kelly, but yeah, we understand.
Yeah. But yeah, that sense of awe and that feeling so smart and feeling so tuned in and so in the know of suddenly seeing all these pieces fit together. I would see this. I'd learned this one thing in Daniel, and that would make sense in the book of the Revelation, and that would make sense in the book of Genesis, and it would all fit together. And I got addicted to that, and for years I sought that over and over and again. Well, what I liken that to is when I had that moment of clarity, of realization about myself, of you just really don't believe.
Yeah.
Just to be honest, you don't believe. As fearful and as messed up as all of that was in so many different ways, because I am my own favorite subject, it was also euphoric to have that moment of clarity to go, this is just me. This is the real me. It was like suddenly for the first time I was seeing the real me in the mirror. And I think I instantly got addicted to that again of this level of honesty, this level of being aware of myself. So I say all that to say this. All right, well, let's say that Bobby C. of that era, was wanting people's attention, and needed people's attention. I wonder if there's not some power and healing in going, yep, that's me. I am an attention whore. I've got to have a lot of attention. I'm going to be very, very depressed with everybody tonight if y'all don't give me some attention. I wonder if there's something powerful in not fighting that.
And I also think, or I wonder, if maybe I had gotten so much negative attention from my dad and all the abuse and everything that maybe I craved positive attention.
Sure.
Because I had received nothing but negative for years, to the point of being called retarded and stupid and he wished I was never born and all this, to where now people are laughing and to me it's positive attention.
Sure.
And I'm thinking that maybe that was what I craved so desperately because I didn't get it anywhere else.
Right. No, I think that's right. And I feel like, and I don't think that I'm discovering this on my own. I think I've read this in other forms of philosophy. If I'm really, really honest about this and go, yeah, dude, I just crave positive attention because I got so much negative attention. If I'm open with myself and others about that, don't I become a little more empowered? Don't I have a little more control over it then?
Sure.
Versus me denying the fact that I have to have that positive attention,
right.
Versus me fighting it, feeling guilty about it. I mean, we know from religion that anything we feel guilty about puts us into a loop, puts us into a feedback loop.
Mm-hmm.
And so if I don't feel guilty about it and I just throw it out there in the open and be like, yeah, dude, I'm going to tell you what, sardines is my jam,
Right. That's a hell of a jam.
then, and which is not, but if it was,
yeah.
Am I not somewhat more in control? Am I not being more empowered some way with that?
Yeah,
it feels like to me that may be the case. Maybe it's not. I mean, and how I want to disprove it is say, well, there's people out there addicted to this, that, or the other thing, and they'll just tell you straight up, yeah, I love this, I'm addicted to it. But I wonder if they're not still, because of society, because of other things, if they're not still fighting against it on the inside.
Well, there's power there's power in acceptance.
Yes.
Right. Once you finally accept whatever it is that you're accepting about yourself, right? There's power in that.
Right.
Because you gain great strength when you finally accept something about yourself,
right,
whether it's negative or whether it's positive, right? Because you gain strength if it's negative, and you gain the strength to change it.
Yeah,
right?
that's right. And so once again, pulling this back to our subject, I would say that if we investigate our motives, we may find out we're doing the wrong thing, but yet for the right reasons. And we may find out we're doing the right thing, but for the wrong reasons. But in knowing, let's all go back to Saturday mornings, watching television, knowing is power.
Yes.
That is the beginning of change, is truly being aware of where you're at and what's going on.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I may be wrong. I may be totally wrong about
that. Makes both of us wrong then, because I actually agree with you. And that's why we work so well, y'all.
That's exactly right.
Well, we have been talking now for 2 hours.
I love it. I was so excited about getting off the road and being back to where we could visit. I was hoping we'd have at least a 2-hour show.
Oh, me too, because I understand that people enjoy the 1 hour format. I do. I truly understand that. But my way of thinking is, it's hard to take a deep dive into a topic in an hour.
Yeah.
I love being able to sit down and for 2.5, and you never know, some days we may do 3.
Absolutely.
If the topic calls for it, and you guys just have to listen to this in segments,
Sure.
But you just can't take a deep dive and actually look and twist and turn your topic in every way you can in an hour. It's not possible for me. Now, maybe some people can do it. Me, I can't do that, y'all.
Right.
I need time.
Well, if we wanted to be scripted, we could spend a few hours, heading up towards the show. We could rehearse. We could write emails back and forth and put the right lines together, and we could script it, and we could put out a lot of information, a lot of things we thought about in an hour, but it wouldn't be naked.
Nope, it wouldn't be raw, and it wouldn't be real.
That's right. And so,
I think that's what people like about us.
Yeah, whether it ever really, whether it becomes 1 million listeners a night or not because of our format or the way we do it, I prefer this because I still very much consider myself to be in recovery mode.
Sure.
And this is part of my therapy.
I think, we have gotten our share of emails from people who would actually agree with you. This is their therapy, because we have and very shortly we're going to be talking about some of the iTunes ratings that we got over the last week, and you're going to hear people saying the same thing. It is like Angie said. Yep, it's the nakedness for me, right? It's being able to open yourself up, to make yourself vulnerable, even though you know that this is going out all over the world.
Right, and you can't take it back.
No, trust me. Live, there's no editing.
Yeah, you tweeted your wiener pic.
It is true nakedness, but it's.
I hope people got that joke with the news that's gone on this week. Wiener, Senator Wiener, Twitter. Never mind.
I didn't, because I don't watch the news.
I apologize.
Okay, that's okay. You're allowed one mistake.
I didn't want them to think I was actually talking about other types of pics. I was trying to.
I gotcha. But sorry, it's being willing to put yourself out there, and people recognize that as being real. I've had many people come to me and say, "Hey, I want to start a podcast. Can you give me some advice?" And trust me, I'm by no means a podcast guru, by no means. But the best advice I can give them is be yourself and be real, because people will recognize that. You become endearing because you open yourself up and you start talking about things that most people probably wouldn't air for everybody to hear. And there's going to be somebody listening that's going to go, holy hell, that's me.
Yeah.
And that is the person that you're trying to reach.
That is the person, and it resonates because they're trying to grow. You're trying to grow,
and you grow
Everyone's
together.
trying. That's right. You grow together. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, and you learn how to strengthen each other, and you learn how to carry each other, and to lift each other up when they need it. And I can say this, and they can say brotherly love if they want to, but for me, that's Jerry. That's you.
Sure.
There are many times that we'll both be having a terrible day, and we can call each other and we lift each other up.
Absolutely.
But that's because, first of all, we're brothers, but we're friends as well. And you gain that by opening yourself up to other people and allowing people inside.
That's right. And it was a pleasure with y'all spending almost a week with us. I thought it was great, and I hope you and Ashley felt that this was true for us the way we felt it was true for y'all. The relationship that we have on the air is the exact same relationship that we had in person.
Yeah.
And I think that's just proof of trying to be honest. And it just goes right back to, you've already given up God. What else do you have to lose? You've already put yourself in a position that a child molester will be elected to Congress before you will.
Yeah.
Or whatever, maybe not Congress, but to your local office.
Yeah.
What else do you have to lose by being honest about everything else? Being
Nothing,
naked
but you
with
have
everything
so
else.
much to gain.
That's right.
That's what it comes down to.
Well, I'm glad the listeners are getting something positive out of it.
I think they are. And I'm going to read these iTunes ratings here very soon, and you guys will hear there are people who are getting that from this show. So I think this was a great episode, Jerry.
I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed it immensely.
I would rank this up with one of our top episodes.
I think so.
Yeah, because finally we were able to take a deep dive into a topic and twist it and ask questions, and I took time to sit here and analyze myself, and analyze what's going on with me. What can I change? What areas of my life do I need to start working with? That's something I did tonight while doing the show.
Yeah, me too. Me too. I had one quick thought. Is it okay? Can I share this one last thing?
Go for it.
One quick thought as I was analyzing myself as we were doing the show. The reason that I don't let my Woody Allen out all the time and have that level of contentment that I think I would have if I did that is because there's a certain price to pay for it.
Absolutely.
Because there's certain people be like, I'm not going to have him in my life with him being like that or whatever. And so it literally is being unwilling to pay the price that keeps me from being my total self.
Yes.
And so that's very much the root of doing the right thing for the wrong reasons, or doing the wrong thing for the wrong reasons. Right thing for all
one
wrong.
of them.
It's all wrong now. Wrong reasons, wrong things. It's all
wrong.
But the point of that would simply be maturity, growth, progress is being willing to pay the price.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just like it was with graduating from religion and letting the world know you didn't believe anymore.
Yeah, and paying that price. Boy, was that a price to pay.
Price, exactly. All right.
All right. Well, guys, thank you very, very much for spending these 2 hours with us. I hope, I really do, that you guys have gained as much from tonight's episode as I have personally. even tonight during this episode, I had to take a look back at myself, and I realized some things about me that, maybe I need to work on these things. Of course, we all have our own shortcomings. And just from tonight's episode and having that time to sit back and reflect while we listen to the genius that is Jerry DeWitt, I got probably more from this show than I probably most of our shows. Trust me, I love the show we do. But tonight's show, it resonated with me a little deeper than most. So I hope it did the same for you. If it has, please let us know. We love hearing from you guys and hearing how the fact that Jerry and I are willing to sit down and get naked with you guys and just lay ourselves out for you guys and allow you guys to share in our lives. I hope that it does the same for you. Jerry, we had 3 iTunes ratings tonight. And
wonderful.
And all of them were 5 stars. They were all good. Now, I'm going to try, I don't even know how to say this first name. Angie, I learned something about Joe Osteen and his lace doily outhouse. Angie is so fun.
That's awesome.
All right, this name is, I don't even know how to say this. It's ERINSSSS. Not even going to try, but you know who you are. Titled it Relevant for Newer Atheists. I'm on my 3rd episode. Really appreciate these 2. They're both kind, open, honest, and seem like genuinely awesome guys. Thanks for making a series for new atheists. It's the first one I've been able to find. I've been listening to a lot of podcasts about debating religion, but this podcast will be even more relevant to me. So, Aaron, quadruple S, thank you. Thank you for that. That is why we do this show. That is one of the things, Jerry, you and I, when we were talking about even creating this show, that's what we wanted. It is about helping people find that hope after faith, the newer atheists who are new to graduating from religion, and now they're wondering, what do I do now?
That's exactly, that was your brainchild, my friend.
Well, I just kind of jumped on your shirt tail there. All right, the second one is titled The Second Baddest Man Alive. Actually, that's the person that wrote it. The second baddest man alive, titled their rating, Subscribe Now, Operators Are Standing By.
Oh, that's cute.
They wrote, excellent podcast. Can't say enough good things about it. Bobby C. and Jerry D. have a great chemistry. Their compassion and thoughtfulness are on full display as they explore the experiences of their evangelical exodus. Jerry has an uncanny ability to put into words the thoughts and emotions that I felt on my way out of faith. Some I hadn't actually thought in 3 or so years since. This podcast provides a fun and safe place to kind of unpack those memories while learning new stuff as well. And Bobby's just awesome. Enough said. Keep on keeping on. So thank you to the second baddest man alive.
Bobby's just awesome.
Bobby's just
agree.
awesome.
I think that's fantastic. It doesn't get any better than that. Just awesome.
It's just awesome. I look good sitting over here on the couch. And the third one. You know I'm going to take it back there every time.
I know it.
And, well, thank you very much. The third one is W. Dayton. Dayton. I hope I typed that right. I hope it's not Dalton. Anyway, you know who you are. Titled it Excellent Content. I bought the book almost as soon as it came out. Me too. W. Dayton, me too. I love Jerry's story and identified with much of his background, having grown up in the same denomination and faced some of the same issues. He and Bobby C. have great on-air chemistry and share from a place of deep honesty, entertaining and enlightening. So thank you very much for that.
That's wonderful.
That is. So see, I told you that this show is resonating with people. And the thing we're hearing over and over is that they are enjoying the fact that we're coming from somewhere deep. you know,
Yes,
and we're sharing
absolutely.
that aspect of our lives with our listeners. Guys, we can be found on iTunes, Stitcher, and Spreaker. Spreaker does have a mobile app. It's free for you to download. Just go over to your Google Play or your iTunes download thing on iPhones, and you can download that app. Also, speaking of Spreaker, please go over and give our show a follow. I think we're at 170 something, I think now. Go over there. Just click on that follow button, and you will get emails saying when we are live. There's going to be some days when Jerry is traveling that we're going to have to do this on another day besides Thursday. We've done that twice in the past, and I'm pretty sure there's going to be times in the future that we have to do it that way.
Absolutely.
So go over, click that follow button, and you will get an email from Spreaker going, hey, Hope After Faith is live on the air. And we would greatly appreciate it. Also, go over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating like these 3 wonderful people did this past week, and we will certainly read it on the air. Whether you like us or you hate us, we don't care. Just let us know. We appreciate it. Jerry, let them know about, of course, Team DeWitt and where and how they can get a copy of Hope After Faith.
Thank you, sir. If they're interested in an audio version of Hope After Faith, they can go to secular. What is it? What is it? Atheistaudiobooks.com? What is it?
For your audiobook?
Yes.
It's atheistaudiobooks.com, and it'll redirect you to Audible. I do know that Pitchstone Publishing has purchased Atheist Audiobooks. So just go over to atheistaudiobooks.com, and you can get a copy of Hope After Faith.
Thank you, sir. I don't know. For some reason, I threw in the word secular, and it was done.
It just messed you all up, didn't it?
I was never going to get it back tonight. I'd have to sleep on it and wake up 3 o'clock in the morning and call each one of these listeners individually. No, it's Atheist Audiobooks. I don't know what I'm saying.
I know it's late, and I'm sorry I woke you up, but I just want to let you know what I meant to say.
It just came back to me, I got to tell you.
Now, go back to sleep.
Yeah.
I got it.
But if you're interested in Team DeWitt, as mentioned by Bobby, what you'll find on our Patreon account is that Paul and I, we try to entertain and inspire one way or the other almost every single day. There's different levels of participation, but you can easily get there with just simply going to jerrydewitt.net. If you go to jerrydewitt.net, then you'll find us. That's a very quick way to communicate with us. If you're interested in the life coaching that Bobby keeps referencing so generously, and I really do appreciate that, dear brother, then reach out to me. There's all kinds of ways you can get to me. Obviously, you can email me. Quick email address, j_DeWitt@hotmail.com. I'm finally starting to give that out more and more now. It's my first email address, and I've got so many more since that I feel safe giving that out now. But you're welcome to reach out to me, and we can talk about how we can work together and possibly make the future brighter for all of us.
And listen, guys, if you're not a member of Team DeWitt, y'all missed out, because Jerry put out a message earlier. I need to ask you, brother, how's your sunburn doing?
Oh my gosh. Whenever it sounds like you surprise me with stopping a sentence or maybe asking me a question and it sounds like I'm far back away from the mic or further back, it's because I'm leaning back in this chair, scraping my back against this thing. It's to the point now that it's bubbles.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
It's amazing. It's gorgeous.
Well,
I've never been more sexy than I am now. I mean, if your thing is lobsters.
Well, sunscreen is a wonderful thing.
It is, and I'm not gonna lie. I did this on purpose. I didn't want to get burnt this bad, but I actually did want to burn, because with my type of skin, I can get a mild burn and be dark for the rest of whenever, for almost a whole year after that. But this just got away from me.
You think so? Jerry put out a message earlier. I guess it was earlier last week. It might have been earlier in the week. It might have been your Monday message or your Sunday message. So. And he's talking about his sunburn. Y'all, he got a really, really bad sunburn. So what does Jerry do in the spirit, if you will, of being naked and raw? He put out a message going, y'all, I'm hurting. And you could hear your pain in that message. Yes. I was sitting there listening going, man, my heart goes out to you, and I'm not even sunburned. But yeah,
it was one of those that gave me, the flu-like symptoms. I got burnt bad enough that I got
sun poisoning.
Sun poisoning. I really got sick, got congestion, the whole 9 yards. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm hoping that it will all heal up and you'll have that dark tan like Bobby C's got going on. I know that was your goal.
Yeah, that's what it was I was really wanting to look like you, and I agree with Angie. Sunburns are not to be played with. I will not do this again. I was younger and stupider the last time that I tried this method, and apparently I'm older and just as stupid this time. But it'd be
lessons learned, brother.
I'm just glad we wasn't on a nude beach, or I would have ended up in the hospital.
Son, there's some parts of the human anatomy that's not supposed to be sunburnt. All right, well, guys, if you our website is hopeafterfaith.secularmediagroup.com. You can go over there, find all the episodes over there, and leave any comments you want to leave about the show. You can also download each episode from hopeafterfaith.secularmediagroup.com. We're also on facebook.com/hopeafterfaithpodcast. Keep in mind that we do have a closed group called Hope After Faith Listener Page on Facebook. We had a lot of people join our page since we announced it last week. So please continue to come over, join our closed group. Jerry and I do post in there quite often, and it's a good way to have a conversation with us away from the chat room on Spreaker on Thursday evenings. So go over, join the group. It's Hope After Faith Listener Page on Facebook. Also, we're on Twitter, Hope After Faith on Twitter. And if you want to email the show, email Jerry, or even email me, you can do so on hopeafterfaithpodcast@gmail.com. I can't thank you guys enough for taking the time to hang out with us as long as we have tonight. We hope that you have enjoyed the show and have gotten as much out of it as I have. This has been a wonderful, wonderful conversation, and I look forward to many, many more deep dives like we did tonight. Thank you, John. John said, sent my request. Thank you, John. I'll make sure that I accept that as soon as we get off the air tonight. So, our song tonight is Last Prayer by Chris Beelan. You can find his music on beeland.bandcamp.com. That's BELAND.bandcamp.com. As always, we dedicate that song to the memory of Samantha Bannister. I think most of you know who Samantha is. That is one of the songs that she listened to and loved before she passed. And I promised Jeremiah that as long as we play that song, that we would do it in her memory. She was a very sweet girl. So for Secular Media Group and Hope After Faith, until next week.
Be brave, my friends.
Lonely when you fade away in a lifetime, and it's lonely when you're out in space with no lifeline. And slowly then you turn around and you notice the length and the time when your heart stops beating. Oh, why won't you come settle down? Stop wasting your time and your mind going on believing. No, this won't change. Lord knows you know I can't tell where I'm going. To hell heaven or falling in hell are my predictions. I only speak what I have heard. And the sound of your words condemn my soul while my soul is here, just bleeding. You know my love, it won't hurt. Stop wasting your time and your mind going on believing. Oh, this won't change. And you're gone away, and you're gone away, and you're gone away, away.